Welcome to Digital Asset News. We take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, got a lot of good stories. First up, this is a pretty great article. It was a blog post written on Medium, and it talks about being a true Bitcoiner requires 3 essential qualities. Now, before I go on, I know that the market is down in the dumps. I think we lost like $36 billion over the last 2 or 3 days. But I'm going to show you it really doesn't matter. Also, Bitcoin developer Jimmy Song doesn't mind that altcoins crashing 70%, and here's what he talks about and why I think that he's totally incorrect as to all these things. And Bitcoin mining costs set to rise post-halving, says TradeBlock, which is the ultimate duh type of article. But there's some really good information here as to what's going to happen potentially on May 2020 and beyond. And finally, we'll head it all off with our last piece, which is the scam of the day. First of all, thanks for everybody who has taken part to busting these scammers. We've taken a lot of these people down. Really appreciate it, but we'll go over all of this at the very end of all these stories. So let's get into today's article. First up, true Bitcoiner requires 3 essential qualities. I came across this because I know that the market is just sucking right now, and that's just the truth. This was written by Sylvain Sorel. Don't know who he is, but it's a pretty great article about what things are needed. And before I go on, if you are losing out, if you are feeling to yourself like, damn it, this market, I hate it because it keeps going down and or it goes up or it's fluctuating or something like that, maybe this isn't the market for you. I just have to be honest with you. This is a market that's going to go down, it's going to go up, and if you look at it day by day, it really sucks. So my suggestion is don't do that. Just put your money in and let it go. And I'm going to show you some strategies that I use not to lose my head or blow my head off because of all these different volatility that's going on. So let's break into this article itself. So there's 3 things that he talks about, and I'm going to add my 4th. But the first thing he says is humility. And humility just comes down to, just realizing that you don't know everything, right? The mind works like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So same thing with Bitcoin, learning about cryptocurrency, digital assets. You have to understand that and you just have to uncover that there's something other than the monetary and financial system you have always known. So humility and knowledge. And for this article, it's not just about Bitcoin. It's about all cryptocurrency and all digital assets, because I truly believe that Bitcoin is not the end-all, be-all, can do everything, is the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army knife of digital assets. It's just not the case. You have to stay in your lane. You have to find your niche, and you can excel in that product. It's just, you don't have to be everything to everybody. These are just my thoughts. Now, before we go on, you must know, to be completely transparent, these are the 6 cryptocurrencies and digital assets that I've invested in. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Chainlink, EOS, and Cardano. So when I'm talking about these things, it's because I'm biased, because I have invested into these things. Now, you'll note that Bitcoin is like my highest amount of my portfolio. But it's not like I didn't invest in everything else, because I feel that putting all your eggs in one basket is just kind of a bad strategy. I mean, we don't know that if Bitcoin is going to be the end-all, be-all, like Jimmy Song over there. So that's what I've done. But when I'm talking about this article, just remember, I'm not talking about just about Bitcoin. It's about all digital assets. And I don't understand the whole philosophy with the Bitcoin maximalism or XRP maximalism or tomato coin maximalism, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Just cheer for any type of cryptocurrency that goes up, because once something in our space goes up, it brings everything up. So let's all be cheerleaders. We're in a very small niche market. It's like 1% to 2% of the entire population. So you can't tell me that you should bash everything, because I'll be honest with you. People outside of this space think you're nuts. That's just the truth. They think I'm nuts. They think everybody's nuts, because they're like, well, I don't get it. I don't understand why we should do it. So when things go up, cheer for it, because what's good for one is good for all. And I feel like when the water rushes into the harbor, all the ships rise. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I talk about it every time, but that's just my stance. I'm not going to beat you down because you are a Dogecoin maximalist or whatever. I'm just like, great, you're in the space. We're brothers. We're sisters. We're all in this community together. Thanks for being a part of what I believe in. So thanks. All right, going on. So talks about humility and getting the knowledge. And just remember that everything you took for granted with the current system, as far as financial systems, will suddenly seem very precarious. And I can see this all around me. I've got a couple of businesses. I have, my business accounts, my personal accounts. I have business loans. I got everything. And to me, I feel like bank transfers taking days is ridiculous when we live in today's society, when I can send an email to Bangladesh in seconds and it's like no big deal. But if I want to send $100 from my bank here in Texas to somebody in New York, for some reason it takes like 2 days or 3 days, depending on if there's like a holiday or if it's the weekend. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. We live in the age of where information can go all around the world. We should be in the age where financials or any type of monetary system can be transferred just as easily. I don't understand. So and then also speed of transactions, and let's talk about no transfers. Business loans. Look, I've got a business loan and it's ridiculous. The paperwork you have to fill out, the interest rate and the paperwork, it just sucks. So like all these different things that are coming down the pipe, these things are going to be ancient history. If I'm in my 40s, when I talk to kids who are like in their teens or in their 20s, and I talking about before the internet, they're like, "What the heck are you talking about?" It's just like as time moves on, when marijuana gets legalized in the United States. If you're not from the United States, just so you know, there's a lot of different states that don't legalize marijuana. I know it's crazy, but when that gets legalized, when you see in like 10 years or so, people that have grown up with legalized marijuana, and I'll be like 60 or 70, they're gonna look at me like I'm just some old fogey. Well, because I am. But it'll just be so weird. It's the same thing with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. People are going to grow up with this, especially, Gen Zers or whatever they're called. I'm so old. And it's just, they'll be like, what are you talking? What? You couldn't transfer money? That makes no sense. Or you couldn't pay, or you didn't have smart contracts? What are you, ancient? Yes. Essentially, that's what it is. So that's what's going to happen, I think. And then also, like with these cryptocurrencies, digital assets, especially with Bitcoin and XRP and Ethereum and everything else, you don't have these bank scams or lack of transparency because you couldn't see what the banks were doing behind the scenes. So again, here's the problems with banks. First of all, they're hard to trust. And why are they hard to trust? Because they've done a lot of shady stuff in the past. So you can look at things like this: Bank of America to pay $16.6 billion in historic Justice Department for settlement, financial fraud. Then there's also this JP Morgan Chase scandal, $30 billion in fines and counting. Also, the big one, Wells Fargo account fraud scandal, where they erroneously just opened up accounts and they screwed people over. Then you have stuff like Dutch Bank ING fined $900 million for money laundering or failing to spot it. Then you got the big one, which is not a bank, but you got these big corporations like Enron, and they just committed financial fraud. So when you want things to be open and transparent, this is what is hopefully going to eliminate this type of nonsense. So back to the article. So coming back, just know that as time moves on, it's going to be a whole different world. Says here, your humility will help you better deal with the unfounded criticism Bitcoin constantly receives from its fiercest opponents. And this is the big thing. Once you understand the fundamentals behind it, volatility like these last 2 or 3 days, it won't matter. It doesn't matter to me how much it goes up or how much it goes down. I have a price target for Bitcoin in my mind, and that is between 100,000 and 250,000. And for me, some people outside will say that's crazy. Some people like, you who are listening to this video, you're like, that's not so crazy, because you know the direction of which everything is going. So, and if you don't, this is why I'm doing this video for you, so you can understand that, hey, it's not such a big deal to go up and down. As long as you understand the fundamentals of how it works. So when you see these big price dips and going ups and downs and whatnot, you can say, it doesn't matter. So like, if you compare this to like, say, the Tesla earnings report, you can understand why Tesla's stock went down. Tesla, it had a very bad day around July 25th, 2019. Apparently the earnings report came out and their CTO, their chief technical officer, left on the same day. So fundamentally, that's why it fell 13.6% in one day. So we can understand that, right? So for cryptocurrency digital assets, like why did it drop 36 billion. Did Bitcoin get hacked? Did the Ethereum Foundation totally collapse? Did Ripple come out and say that they're, a part of a funding operation for terrorism and they're trying to take over the world? No, that's not what happened. Just, I believe it's just some whales that manipulate some parts of the market. And then people in the market look at these whales and go, whoa, it's crashing. I need to take all my money out. And before you know it, there's a FOMO in and there's a FOMO out. And that's how I kind of see it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the fundamentals. I just think that's what happened. And I don't care if it goes up or down because I have a price point. I understand the fundamentals. Moving on. Now it talks about perseverance. And it makes sense, right? As we're going through this, we have to persevere because you have to remember the potential. Look, if you invested in 2010 $1, you would have had 90,000 in 2019. So around 2010, maybe it was like 25 cents or whatever it was. So then in the all-time high of 20,000, you might have hit 90. So that's great. You have to understand that in 10 years, nothing has ever given that type of return, especially not in the stock market. So if you're thinking, well, it's at around 10,000 and it goes to 100,000, where can you 10x your money in a year or 2 years? It's pretty tough. Now, is that going to definitely happen? No, it's cryptocurrency and digital assets. I have no idea, but I believe in the technology. I hate that term. I believe in technology. I believe in the fundamentals of why Bitcoin works. So I don't have an issue with it right now. Bitcoin had to build itself up in pain, facing the many criticisms that were leveled at it. And if I want to share with you, if you haven't seen this already, it's called the Bitcoin obituaries. Bitcoin has died 379 times, and the earliest one, or the last one, was December 31st, 2019, where it says it's a pyramid scheme. And I can guarantee you there's one that has been in January 2020, probably February 2020. And the oldest death was back in December 15, 2010. It says why Bitcoin can't be a currency, and on and on and on and on and on and on. So Bitcoin has died so many times, and yet it's still here. And yet last year in 2019, it was the best performing asset of anything out there. It beat the S&P 500, it beat gold, it beat oil. So I think it's a pretty good bet so far. Moving on. Bitcoiners take advantage of every opportunity to buy more and more Bitcoin. So here's the thing. If you're a technical analysis person, great. That's all you. I'm not into TA. I'm a DCA. DCA versus TA. I'm a dollar cost averager. And what does that mean? That means that I put in a little bit of money every week into the products that I believe in. So first of all, I'm into Coinbase. That's where I buy things. I can't use Binance because I'm in the United States, and I can't use Binance US because I'm in Texas. So that sucks. But Coinbase has me, and I'm sure there's other exchanges that do it, but Coinbase is one of the most secure that I feel. And it's been around for a while, and it's proven itself, hasn't been hacked, so I'll stick with Coinbase. Coinbase, so I always have a two-step verification. If you don't understand it, there's many videos out there, but essentially it just allows you to type a code from your phone, which is just more security, and I like that part. So I'll type in my two-step verification, and now I'm here in my account. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on my portfolio, and I'm going to set up a recurring purchase. And when I get that, you're going to see something like this. How much do you want to buy? And let's say I want to buy $25 of Ethereum, and I can pay with whatever account. I've got a USAA account because I'm prior military. That's a pretty good bank. Actually, I think now that you don't have to be prior military to have USAA. Anyhow, but let's say I want to buy $25. I'm going to click on this little icon here. It looks like a clock or a time rewind or something like that. And when I click on that, it's going to ask me how often do I want to make this purchase. So let's say I want to pay $25 every week for Ethereum, and I will just click on preview buy. It'll buy 25 bucks right now, and then in a week's time, it'll buy another 25 and another 25 and another 25. So I don't know what the price is going to be, and I could care less right now because I'm going to buy Ethereum on the way down. I'm going to buy Ethereum on the way up. I'm going to put 25 bucks in a week, and that goes for actually all of my portfolio. And that's how much I spend. I don't really take a lot of risks. I just say, this is what I think it's going to be, and off I go. Now, will they all hit? Maybe not. I've got six good ones. Do I feel like maybe 5 will hit? Sure. How about 3? Yeah. It doesn't matter. I just have to have one hit big time, and I'm happy with all the rest of my purchases. And I feel like I've got a pretty good balance. So that's how I dollar cost average. And it's the safe thing for me. That's what I want to do. If you want to do day trading, that's all you. Have fun, man or lady. I don't care. But that's how I do things. Moving on. Okay, and the last part is patience, and I'm going to add my own piece. So we talked enough about patience, but just realize that Bitcoin is a major technological revolution that is patiently being built block after block. Remember, when the internet came in, I mean, the first type of test for the internet was like in the 80s, 90s, and it took a while. Actually, I believe that TCP/IP was around the 70s or 80s, so it took a while to take off. Look at Bitcoin. 2010, you put in $1. 2019, you would have had 90K. So that's not bad. Not a bad time frame. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, and here's what you need. In my opinion, you need brass balls. You just have to say, I don't really care. I just am going to do this thing, and I believe in it because I've already done research, and then off I go. Also, if you're a lady out there, just take the sage words from Betty White. Betty White said, why do people say grow some balls? Balls are weak and sensitive. If you really want to get tough, grow a vagina. Those things take a pounding. Hey, I didn't say it. Betty White said it. So, and the other thing I feel like people need is just one of these things. You just have to not give an F. There's a great book, Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, Mark Manson. Take a look at that book. It really just comes down to this. Worry about the things that you can change. Don't worry about the things that you can't. And forget all the rest. And then off you go. And that's it for this article. Now look, that's my fourth thing. Just don't give an F, have some brass balls or whatever Betty White said, and just go from there. And you have to understand that it doesn't matter if the market goes up and down. In the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter. Moving on. Next up, Bitcoin developer Jimmy Song doesn't mind altcoins crashing 70%, and here's why. So he just talks about in a little tweet, I wouldn't mind a 10 and 20% dip here, and he's talking about Bitcoin, if it means alts crash by 70% plus. The malinvestments from the last bubble don't feel finished 2+ years later. So Jimmy Song is a big Bitcoin maximalist. And again, I don't understand the whole thing about that. So why is it that you have to be okay with everybody else losing their money down below Bitcoin, but you're okay with yours, going to the moon? I feel like, well, couldn't they both do that? Couldn't Bitcoin also go up, and then also Ethereum and XRP and whatever else, EOS, Cardano, all my stuff, plus whatever else, go up? I mean, look, in my opinion, Bitcoin can't do it all. Stay in your lane. And for all your Bitcoin maximalists whose heads are about to explode right now, you can't. And just admit you can't. Because can you do smart contracts? Well, yeah, we can do smart contracts. Wait, can you do smart contracts really? You can't even pay for a cup of coffee. So when you talk about how Bitcoin is going to be great for payments and it can do smart contracts, so that's built in at some point. It can also do it for tracking, also do it for blah, 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 blah. Stop. Just stop. Stay in your lane, store of value, great job, move on. Let other people or other projects do their own thing. Here's what Trace Mayer says, and if you don't know Trace Mayer, he's a huge Bitcoin maximalist, and he was one of the first. But Bitcoin supporter Trace Mayer argues that there may be a number of altcoins that can perform specific functions better than Bitcoin, and will have a reason to exist and thrive. He states, Bitcoin doesn't need to satisfy all the needs for all the people. Sometimes you want a knife, sometimes you want a fork, sometimes you want both. So just keep an open mind. Trace Mayer, early adopter. So that's all I got for that article. Last up, Bitcoin mining costs set to rise post-halving, says TradeBlock. And this, when I first saw this, I'm like, well, duh. But there's just this piece that I thought was super interesting. It states here, currently the miners break even at $6,800 using Antminer equipment from Bitmain. And remember, these are probably the new Antminers. If you've got an Antminer from 2-3 years ago, I don't think it's as fast. It's just like any computer that you buy. I mean, after about a year or so, it kind of becomes obsolete, right? So these are things that not only is it $1,600 for electricity and everything else, but they have to, on top of the cost, to buy that Antminer, which are not cheap. It goes on to state that this Bitcoin mining costs will rise to $12,500 after the halving in May 2020. The reduced mining rewards may drive many individual miners out of business. So that sucks. It's like I say, if you're a Bitcoin miner right now, everything is good until May 12, 2020, roughly. Then they're like, hey, Pete, you're doing a great job. Well, for me, I always give this example like as like a janitor. Like, you're working on May 11th, and then May 12th comes around. Like, hey, Pete, good job of mopping up this floor. Tomorrow, I want you to do the same amount of work, but we can only pay you half. All right, Pete, have a good day. That's essentially what's going to happen to miners. Now, it's bad for them. It's going to be good for us because there is now more scarcity, because Bitcoin is a finite amount, because there's only 21 million. And that's 21 million that we can know is out there. There's also maybe 4 to 5 million that have been lost over the years because people have just lost their keys, or they've thrown away their hard wallets or their computers in the early days, and because it wasn't really worth that much. So as time goes on, it's going to be, Bitcoin should be worth a lot of money. We'll see. But this just come down to, it's going to be very interesting, May 13th, May 14th, May 15th, what's going to happen with the hash rate and the price. Because the hash rate right now, these miners, they're going full tilt. They're like, hey, we got to crush this, because once May 12th comes around, we're going to make that much money. So this is the hash rate. What's a hash rate? It's the speed at which a compute is completing an operation of the Bitcoin code. Higher hash rate is better when mining, as it increases your opportunity to finding the next block and receive the reward. What this all is, it's about computing power. So the hash rate, the more computers you got turned on and going full tilt, the hash rate's going to go up. And you can see from March 2019, and here we are, February. Kind of up and down real far, and then it goes up. So I can just see this hash rate only increasing until May, and I think it's going to drop for 2-3 months, and then it'll go back up again. And we'll see how many miners are left. Now, I do know this, that Bitcoin mining is pretty centralized in China right now, but they are about to build a gigawatt factory here in Texas, and hopefully that will bring that to a little bit more decentralization as far as Bitcoin mining goes. At least we'll have 2 countries, and we'll see how it all works out. But that's it for today's video. I want to say thanks for sticking with me and going through all the rants. Now, if you got a couple minutes, stick with me through this scam of the day. Now, scam of the day is the reason we did this is because people get scammed, and 2020 is going to be a big year. I think a lot of people are going to come in, and if a new person comes in and gets scammed, that person tells 10 tells 1,000, 1,000 tells 10,000. We can't let that happen. So we want people to come in here and spend their money and be happy investors. So here's the one thing I always say. Treat everything as a scam until proven otherwise. Let me say it again. Treat everything as a scam until proven otherwise. When in doubt, contact the official website. Hey, Ripple, are you giving away 10 million Ripple if I just sign up? No. Hey, Binance, you doing airdrops? No. Hey, Ledger, you guys doing? No, we're not doing that stuff. So here's the thing. Get it through your head. No one's giving you free money. All right? You're not special. That's it. Get it through your head. That seems kind of harsh. I apologize. But it's going to save you in the long run. So that's what you can do. And now that you're, inoculated from these different scams, what I'd like you to help me out is to report the scams that are presently going on. So in every video, in the description, there's going to be a section. It's going to be called Scam of the Day. And once you click on that link in the description, it's going to take you this handy dandy Google spreadsheet. And you can see we've busted a lot of scams. And we've only done this about a month or so. But what we've got here is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are just keep going on, especially this one. So all I want you to do is click on the link. It's going to take you to the actual scam. How do we know it's a scam? Well, first we take a look at the comments section. And if these comments are on, they're always going to say scam if it's a scam. But that doesn't prove it, right? What we need to find is what I call an asymmetrical giveaway. And what that looks like is like this. To verify your address, send us 1,000 to 1,000,000 XRP, and you'll get 10,000 to 10 million XRP back. Wow, that sounds fantastic. But it's a scam. So that's an asymmetrical giveaway, and you can contact Ripple directly, send them an email. They'll send it back to you within really about 24 hours, and they'll say, no, that's ridiculous. We don't do that. So we're going to downvote. We're going to click on these 3 dots because we're looking for the report, and the report sometimes is hidden by the scammers, but we know where to find it. Click on that. We're going to say this is spam or misleading. We're going to choose one, and that's going to be scams and fraud. And then this applies to links within the video description. And next, you're going to say this is a scam, and then report, and you're done. Now, if you do this on your mobile phone, which a lot of you, that's why you peruse YouTube, it's just going to ask you that one question: is this a scam? You're just going to pick it's a scam, it's misleading, and that's it. Nothing to type in or anything else. So it's very easy. And that is it for today's video. So again, thanks for sticking with me through the scam of the day. That's, I feel, the most important part. If you got time, there's going to be 2 more videos going to pop up to your left and right. I don't know which one because they are curated for your viewing pleasure from YouTube. And that is it. So thanks again, and I will see you on the next one.